Salam Radio. Salam Radio. 106.2 FM.
Good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk, Salam Radio's flagship weekly current affairs show where we discuss the issues that matter most to you. I'm your host, Akeel, joined by my co-host, Ishfaq Hussain. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, everybody.
Together, we'll bring you the thought-provoking discussions and expert insights. Now, tonight, we tackle two key topics. First, what does housing 146 asylum seekers at the Dragonfly Hotel mean for our city? With the help of our special guest, former Peterborough MP Paul Bristow, we'll dive into what this decision means for our community, economy and resources. Second, we'll shift gears to the proposed changes in inheritance tax for farmers. How could this impact local farmers, rural families and the nation's food supply? We'll also hear from Moez Natu, CEO of Parker, about the critical support his organisation is offering to asylum seekers right here in Peterborough. And as always, we want to hear from you. Our question of the day, or tonight shall I say, do you think Peterborough is ready to support more asylum seekers? Why or why not? Call us on 01733 602 133, or you can text the show on 07411 191062, or as ever, comment on live stream Facebook, YouTube, X, or Twitch. We'd love to hear from you. Now, let's just kick things off here, Ishfaq. Let's look at the facts. The Dragonfly Hotel in Peterborough will house 146 asylum seekers. This decision has sparked discussions across the city. Some argue that it shows compassion, while others worry about the strain on local resources. Now, to unpack this further, we are joined by Paul Bristow, former Peterborough MP, to share his perspective on this decision. Paul, thank you for joining us tonight on Let's Talk. Are you there, Paul?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thanks for joining us tonight and Let's Talk. It's great to have you with us tonight.
Yeah, no, wonderful to be here.
So, Paul, what was your initial reaction to the decision to house asylum seekers at the Dragonfly Hotel?
Well, I just couldn't believe that it was happening to Peterborough again. Peterborough is a caring, kind city, and we support more asylum seekers in Peterborough than any other place in the east of England. We've got some great charities like Parker and Help who support asylum seekers. But this is something that was done to us by the government. It's not something that we prepared for, or as a city council we asked for. It's not something that we set up support services in order to support these individuals. It was done to us by the government because they've restarted the hotel policy that we had before. And we've got to stop being a city where things are done to us. We need to be a city who shapes its own future and its own vision. And that's what really upsets me. The place where we've put these single men, 146 single men, it's not a place which is suitable for that type of activity. It's a hotel, picturesque hotel over a boating lake, which is used for regattas, and it's used for exercise, and families go there. The only thing next to that hotel is a pub, and you'd think that's not something many asylum seekers, especially coming from Muslim countries, would choose to use. And it's nowhere near vital support services that somewhere perhaps near our city centre would be more ideally located. So it's just the wrong decision. And as I said, we've got to stop being a city where things are done to us and be a city who shapes its own future.
Yeah, thanks for that. I was speaking to some local councillors as well, and they said that there was actually no notification from the government whatsoever. It was the night before. They were simply just informed that these 146 men were going to be transferred to the city. I mean, it must have been quite a shock. And so, I'm assuming, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, you would have been speaking to local residents, and there is a feeling of, certainly who I've spoken to as well, people are anxious about the move. I mean, what would you say, to address some of these concerns?
Look, I mean, I can understand why people are upset, and I can understand why people are anxious. This happened when I was the MP for Peterborough as well. You remember the Great Northern Hotel?
Yeah.
Happened, when I was the MP. And look, doing this job, you begin to know a thing or two, because I have a few contacts in the Home Office, and they kind of told me, you need to be aware that Peterborough is likely to be targeted again. Now we're starting the hotel policy up again. I think that was last month. I assumed, as everyone else would be, that it would be back at the Great Northern Hotel, but it wasn't. It was the Dragonfly. So if I was the MP, having been warned about something like this, I'd have been sat down with the council, I'd have been working out how we're going to respond to this, what we're going to do, and had a much more, effective policy. And I'd perhaps have warned residents what is likely to happen, or perhaps look at alternative accommodation, not a hotel in the middle of a conservation area, in the middle of a boating lake, in the middle of a residential area where there's not any health services, no support services, not even a shop for at least half a mile up the road. So it's just the wrong place. And the message we need to send out to local people, if I was the Member of Parliament now, I would be asking for answers from the Home Office. They say it's going to be temporary. When can the hotel be stood down and these asylum seekers processed? And when can local people expect some answers to their questions around support services and what can be done to support these? At the end of the day, it's not the fault of these men themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're just being put in a place which is totally unsuitable to support their needs.
No, I understand. And, so with that in mind then, Paul, what role should the government then play in ensuring communities like Peterborough aren't overwhelmed? Like you just mentioned, this has happened before. We've been selected again. There's been no real time to prepare. It's been a last minute notification, and they've been transferred to the city. I mean, why is Peterborough chosen? Why are we selected again, Paul? From your experience when you've been in the House of Commons, the discussions you've had with colleagues and decision makers, why is Peterborough often selected?
Well, I think there's probably three reasons why this has happened. I think the first is because they leave it to the last possible minute in order to to avoid any sort of local reaction to it and people sort of suggesting that this is not the right place. So don't want to give anyone notice just in case an effective argument is established as to why this is the wrong place. I think secondly, it's because they hotel owners are rather than actually doing up the Dragonfly Hotel, rather than actually spending some money on it and making sure that they're full all year round because of the picturesque location, the quality of accommodation, the standard of rooms, and all the other things that a hotel needs to do. They would rather just make easy money from the government, who have found themselves in this very, very difficult situation. And I guess the third reason Peterborough is targeted, and it's for lots of other reasons as well. It's like that they have problems with rough sleeping. It's because, and I'm not suggesting we should never do this, it's because Peterborough's particularly good a lot of the time at supporting rough sleepers and charities like the Light Project and other things, and it becomes a sort of self-fulfilling thing because people know in Peterborough they're going to be supported, and that's why people from outside Peterborough come here and end up sleeping rough or at least accessing their support services. I think it's the same for asylum seekers. Mowers, I think you said you're going to have him on the line a bit later, from part of this. It's a tremendous job.
Yeah.
They know that there are going to be people like him there to pick up the slack, and it's just not fair because it doesn't mean Mowers doesn't get, and his organisation doesn't get any extra funding or support. But just get more burdens placed upon them.
Yeah, I mean, leading up to the show today, Paul, we asked this question about to listeners and people on social media as well about what their thoughts are, and I think the overriding concern that we had was people were saying, we don't have the resources, the infrastructure in place, doctors, school places, and so on. How can we accommodate more people in the city when we can't even look after our own Peterboreans? And I think that was kind of like the general response to the question that we put out. I think, from your experience, what role should the government now play in ensuring communities like Peterborough are supported, as well as them transferring all these people? Will they be also then resourcing this to allow, support the council in these areas, in health and schooling and jobs? Or is it just literally, these people are transferred to a hotel and, this is the system at the moment while they're trying to process them?
Well, a lot of the time they're left completely on their own, and the government don't provide support services themselves. It's left to local councils and charities to step up to the mark. It's not like the government are suddenly putting money into this and supporting people, and they've got people from central government there to support these individuals. It's left to the local authority. It's left to charities. It's left to volunteers, and that's just the way it is. And they as far as they're concerned, put them in a hotel, that's problem solved, and that's completely wrong. I think on a macro level, and I don't want to get into a big discussion about immigration and asylum, But I don't know any other country in the world who would put up with thousands of undocumented people landing on their shores week in, week out. We've got to get a much better way of dealing with it, it's a huge problem across the world. And we need to recognise that and understand how we do it. Now, that could be, humane corridors or whatever, or it could be some sort of offshore processing system where we try and create a deterrent for the gangs who put these vulnerable people often on boats and ship them over. So we've got to come up with a solution which is not clearly not working, because if we're filling up hotels week in, week out, it's obviously not working. And I'm not saying this is a party political point, because I think my government, when I was the MP, didn't exactly cover themselves in glory with this either. And but just restarting the same policy, the same failed policy, I think is the wrong one. The Labour government said they would sort this, and they're clearly not. But look, if they're going to expect places like Peterborough to pick up the slack, which I don't think they should, I think they should have a much fairer system of distribution of migrants and asylum seekers across the country. The very least they can do is sit down with the local authority, plan how they're going to do it, and give organisations like Parker and the City Council the resources to deal with the problem, not just lump it on them with 1 day's notice. That's a shocker.
Absolutely.
And I'm telling you. And again, I don't want to make a party political point. I'm willing to sit down with our two new MPs, because we've got two brand new MPs, and look, you doing this job for 4.5 years, you pick up a thing or two. They've not taken me up on that, but they are make the offer again. I'll sit down with them and explain what I did around the Great Northern Hotel, what I learned by doing this job, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. I only live 500 yards up the road from the Dragonfly, and it's as much an issue for me as a Peterboroughan than it is for other people. So I want a situation where my city is not used as, and I don't mean to say this in a derogatory sense, a dumping ground for what is in fact a government problem. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest with you, we've got quite a lot of text messages coming in. There's a lot of people actually agreeing with you, Paul, tonight as well. We've got Imran saying he simply just doesn't understand why people who are fleeing war-torn countries, he's put this in inverted commas, why they don't seek asylum into the first safe country they get to. Thanks for the comment there, Imran. A lot of people agreeing with you on text as well tonight, Paul, as well. I can't help but think about, of course, we did have your party in power for a long time, and now we have Labour, but there's not really been a sustainable solution. I think there's not many governments around the world have actually been able to come up with a sustainable solution. You're right. We need something, a deterrent in place, of course, because, we do know that there are gangs out there who are making millions and millions of pounds by exploiting these people who are coming from different countries, or potentially spending all of their life savings to try and get across the world just to come to the United Kingdom. But equally, we do also have a situation where there are genuine, asylum seekers who are being caught up in the system as well. So I think this needs an approach from people. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the solution is, and I say this no longer as an MP. I think the solution is that we should set up where there are war zones, where there are conflicts going on. We need to take those seeking asylum at source if they wish to come to the UK for one reason or another, i.e. if they were interpreters in Afghanistan, or they've got family here, or there's some sort of, some sort of connection, and that Britain is their choice. But look, this is the elephant in the room, and look, I don't wish to denigrate anyone fleeing war zones, we are a caring, compassionate city. But the reason, to answer Imran's question, why these people don't claim asylum in the first country they've come to is because they're not asylum seekers. They're people, quite understandably, who want to come to Britain because they want all the opportunities that Britain gives its citizens. The opportunity to freedom of religion, freedom of belief, freedom to go out and get a job, good education, health service. Living in Britain is a pretty good thing. And if you were living in somewhere else in the world and you saw what was going on in Britain, you would want to come to Britain. And I don't blame them for that. That doesn't make them bad people. But what it does do, it means that we've got to come up with solutions, because we can't welcome absolutely every single person who wants to come to this country we can't do that. No country in the world would do that. We need to come up with better solutions to manage this problem.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. We certainly can't accommodate everybody who comes in. We've got Jim on text here, Paul, completely agreeing with you, saying these are 146 men that have come in. There are no women, there are no children. These are not families. These are not genuine asylum seekers. So a lot of people agree with you on text. There's a few people disagreeing, saying we should show more of a humanitarian perspective. And Britain is a great country. It's rooted in immigrants. Thanks for the comment there. It was an anonymous sender. Paul, do you foresee long-term integration challenges for these asylum seekers?
Well, I mean, just going back to that point earlier, Britain's a great country. It is, and we've had, as I say, a fine tradition of welcoming immigrants from around the world. It's what makes us what we are. But that was done in a managed, controlled way. That was done with policies that were put in place perhaps in the 50s and the 60s to encourage immigration from the Commonwealth countries, because we needed people to come and work here and welcome here, and people were integrated and were much richer, much benefit from that. But we can't have a situation where immigration is effectively open, because you have a situation like we've had in the last few years, when you've had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people coming with no effective control. And it's the same with any situation, whether you have a party or in your own home or anything else. You can't suddenly just welcome all these people in and then expect services and standards to be exactly the same. In terms of integration, well, I mean, Britain does integration, reasonably well. I think Peterborough is a city which I think we had COVID when I was RMP. It didn't matter what community you were from, it didn't matter what language you spoke, it didn't matter what religion or belief system you followed. We all came together as one city and we looked after one another, and that's what makes Peterborough special and what makes the UK special. And that's something I'm immensely proud of. So I think that ultimately people will assimilate, but it's not about where people are from. It's not about what belief systems they have. It's not about their religion. It's just about numbers. And with that, and medical checkups, and they're here. We have to support them. If they do eventually get asylum, they'll require accommodation and housing. They'll require benefits and support. They'll require lessons in order to, perhaps, if they don't speak English as terribly well as a second language, they need support there. Then they'll need support to get into the job market. They may get married. They have children. They need to use local schools. So look, this is all about numbers rather than about the individuals themselves. That's what we've got to get control of.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paul, for your insights. I really, really appreciate that for your time. And we look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you, Paul.
Yep. Cheers, mate. Thanks so much.
Ishi, that was some interesting commentary there from Paul, wasn't it? In terms of what's actually taking place in the city. Of course, he has his experience of being the MP for Peterborough. He knows Peterborough inside out. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, look, there's not one thing there that Paul said that I could say I disagree with. I mean, he said everything I think of and many people in the city think. I will say, look, people might say you should do more. You said there were some people saying we should do more and be more sympathetic. I've always been sympathetic to people that need help. My religious beliefs tell me that I need to be sympathetic to people that need help. But at the same time, it also tells me, that I need to be understanding, but also take care of people nearest and dearest to me and those that need genuine help. Now, as an ex-Conservative councillor, I agreed with the Rwanda policy, right? I agreed with what Paul was saying, that we need to control the numbers. We need to get, we can't just have loads of people coming in. When I was a councillor, I was the one that put forward the motion that made us the City of Sanctuary. Now, that City of Sanctuary motion was also seconded by then Councillor Jackie Allen. And it was to say, look, we are here to take in people, to take care of people, to help people, the women that were in need, that are seeking refuge, to take in asylum seekers. But it wasn't open door policy to say, look, let's let everyone in. This was to say, look, we're here to help people that genuinely need help. And that was my way of showing that, look, as a Conservative, we do care. But with that, I then also sat with Moez on the multi-agency forum to support people that needed help. But what I will say to you, and what I get from talking to a lot of people from various backgrounds. It's not people just think, oh, it's the white British people that are saying this. It's not. It's British people, regardless of caste, colour, creed, that feel this way. Is that we need to take care of our own first. We talk about pensioners going out with winter fuel allowance. There's people going cold this winter. There's people going out without food, or 3 meals a day, or So there's people out there struggling, and at the same time, we've got people coming in because they're economic migrants. As someone said earlier, the question does have to be asked: why do these people risk their lives crossing the channel in rubber dinghies, paying thousands of pounds, risking family lives as well to get over the channel to a country? You have to ask why. France isn't a war zone. I said this last week to someone. France, Europe, there is no war zone that they are fleeing to get to the UK. Because if it was, you know what, I'd welcome them with open arms and say, please do come, we're here to help you, as they did during the Second World War. That's not happening now. We're not in Second World War. We're not, Third World War. So this country does need to manage our borders better. Maybe get elect President Trump over and build a wall in the channel if it comes to that.
Wow,
that's the strongest thing that you could say.
Yeah.
But I personally think the Rwanda deterrent was one of the people agreed with it, disagreed with it. It was a lot of money put into it, but it was a hell of a lot less than what's being put into housing and taking care of people that are coming over at the moment and trying to tackle this issue. So for me, I don't want to see young men coming into the city as asylum seekers in this way, or being dumped on us without the infrastructure there, without the support there. And then for, charities and multi-agency forum like MAF, MOES and groups like that, Helping Hands, having to reach out to help and support these people. At the same time, we're taking away from the help and support that our elderly could be using. We should be using our energy and support networks to help those people who are already in need within this city. And there's plenty of those. Trust me, there's plenty. I always get, we get people contacting us.
Yeah.
So let's try and help our nearest and dearest and the people of this city and our country first. That's what I always say.
Tracy just checked in. She says, I completely agree with Ishfaq. These people are economic migrants. Thanks for your comment, Tracy. We've also got another comment from Jamal. Jamal says, a per head cost should be worked out and the government should provide appropriate funding to local councils. Ultimately, our borders need to be more secure and it can happen, but regrettably, it's not. Thanks for your comment there, Jamal. I mean, this is obviously clearly an emotive subject. And I take on board what you've just said there, Ishfaq, as well. There seems to be an overwhelming of the system, right? But since Labour has come into power, they have been making some inroads. I mean, of course, there's a lot of people coming to the country every single day, but, as reported by the Daily Mirror, almost 10,000 foreign nationals have been deported since Keir Starmer took office in July. A large part of this operation included charter flights to Nigeria and Ghana, both which were the largest ever run flights to each respective country, by the way. There's other people who've been returned to, and these are illegal migrants, by the way, to Albania, Romania, Vietnam. And, there's also a proactive effort now to turf out foreign offenders as well. So Labour's trying to do as much as it can. I'm assuming. If you're a Labour supporter, by all means you can call us on 01733602133 or accounts. We'd love to talk to you. But we have to remind ourselves that the Tory plan previously, which included sending illegal migrants to detention centres in a landlocked African country, Zimbabwe, didn't actually get off the ground. Yes, Rwanda. Amid human rights issues and administrative nightmares, it cost around £700 million just into that policy, and it did fail, right?
No, it didn't fail.
It failed miserably.
It didn't fail. It would have carried on. Had it been a Conservative government, that policy would have carried on.
Yeah, I have no doubt about that.
You can't say it failed. It was stopped.
It was stopped
the
because they were spending all that money. Right,
no.
But not a single person was deported.
Because it consistently got blocked by Labour. And the reason it got blocked, I believe, is because they knew that had that policy taken off, and if it was allowed to be successful, then Labour wouldn't have got into power.
Well, they would say to you, The reason why it didn't take off was because of human rights issues. If you're a Labour supporter or a councillor, we'd love to hear from you. You can text us on 07411191062. But look, the bottom line here is, right, I'm going to just go back to what Paul said, which is Peterborough has once again been selected as a city to take on more asylum seekers. And the system is already overwhelmed. We haven't got the infrastructure in place. We don't have the resources. Central hasn't provided. They didn't even inform the council in time. It was very last minute, and it's happened yet again. And Paul also mentioned about, it's unfair and it should be spread around more. Actually, I've had conversations with quite a few people today who live in different parts of the UK, and also there are migrants that have just been forced into towns and other areas. And this is clearly a national problem, right? And the question really is: we clearly don't have the infrastructure to take on everybody, right? So what should be the solution? We'd love to hear from you. But stay tuned. After the break, we'll hear from Moez Natu, CEO of Parker, about his organisation as it's helping asylum seekers in Peterborough. And don't forget to let us know your thoughts on the question over there. Do you think Peterborough is ready to support more asylum seekers? And I'm sure Ishi would have a response to that. I'll see you after the break. Thank you.
You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salam Radio. Salam Radio. 106.2 FM.
Craving authentic Desi flavors? Look no further than Desi Restaurant. From midday until 1 in the morning, enjoy our homemade specialties that will transport your taste buds. Indulge in tantalizing papri chaat and savor the rich chersi kadahi. Treat your friends to our fresh 1 kilogram chersi lamb handi. Plus, get 2 12-inch pizzas for $11.95. Located at 298 Lincoln Road, we deliver from lunchtime until 1 a.m. Call 01733 555 795 now to order and experience Desi Restaurant's flavors.
Are you a savvy shopper searching for the best food deals? Look no further. Adams Cash and Carry can help you save big. We're not just a food wholesaler for takeaways and restaurants. We also welcome household customers at our warehouse in Westwood, Peterborough. Visit our website and enjoy wholesale prices on everything from drinks to flour, rice to burgers and much more. To shop, go online and collect in store. Visit adamscashandcarry.co.uk today to start your savings spree.
At Cake Inn, all our cakes and slices are freshly baked for that delicious taste. At Cake Inn, we bake 100% vegetarian and halal eggless fresh cream cakes. Delicious flavoured cakes for birthdays and weddings, ceremonies and all other occasions, with free customised messages, even balloons and candles too. Order for delivery or collection from Cake Inn, 489 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PE, and your cake could be ready within 2 hours. Find out more and order online at cakeinn.co.uk or call 01733 496 584.
Need a taxi that won't break the bank? Amar Cabs offers safe local rides at affordable prices, starting at £3.99. Get to Heathrow for £120 and London Stansted or London Luton for just £88. Private school and executive business class drop-offs are also available. Booking is easy. Go to www.amarcabs.com and download our app on Android or iOS or call 01733 555 888. Wherever you're headed, Amar Cabs is just a tap away with reliable, affordable rides starting at just £3.99.
ये कोविड-19 फ्लू से अपने आप को बचाने का वक्त है। अगर आप या खानदान का कोई फर्द इस मौसम सरमा में वैक्सीन के एहल हैं, तो आप आसानी से अपॉइंटमेंट बुक कर सकते हैं या ऑनलाइन वॉक इन क्लिनिक तलाश कर सकते हैं। और यहाँ तक कि अगर आपको पहले कोविड-19 या फ्लू की वैक्सीन लग चुकी है, ये बाकायदा फरोग देने वालों के लिए सिर्फ एक जॉब था। मुकम्मल तौर पर महफूज रहना अभी भी जरूरी है। मजीद जानने के लिए कोविड और फ्लू की वैक्सीन पीटरबोरो के लिए ऑनलाइन तलाश करें।
Whether you visit the Berry Furniture Showroom at 78B Fengate in Peterborough or view and buy online, you'll be amazed at the quality and style you could enjoy in your home. With beds from just £299 and complete 3-2-1 sofa sets from less than £1,000, you'll also be amazed at their wholesale prices too. Plus, there's a 1-year free warranty on sofas and beds, subject to conditions. Find out more, click on Berry That's BERRE furniture.co.uk or call 01733 300 517.
Peterborough's community radio station, Salam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Welcome back to Let's Talk, live on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. Before the break, we heard from former MP Paul Bristow about the impact of housing asylum seekers at the Dragonfly Hotel. Now, let's bring in another perspective. Joining us live on air is Moez Natu, the CEO of Parker, an organisation that plays a vital role in providing support services to asylum seekers and refugees in our city. Moez, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate your time. I'm assuming you're inundated with a lot of people asking you for your time tonight. So welcome to Salam Radio. Moez, can you hear us? I think we've lost him. We're just going to try and reconnect with him. While we wait for Moez there, Ishfaq, while we wait for Moez there, just now, Ishi, could you tell us some of the experiences that you've had in the city while we have been accommodating asylum seekers?
Well, I can tell you, look, while Moez is coming on, I was mentioning earlier before the break how we signed up to be the City of Sanctuary, or one of the cities of sanctuary within the UK. And that was a motion that we put forward a couple of years ago. And that was to support people that are genuinely in need. Moez and Parker as a charity, Moez being a asylum seeker himself when he first came here many years ago, and he'll probably tell you this when he comes on air, how he found it so difficult being an asylum seeker because there was no kind of outreach. He was left to his own. There was no signposting. There was no direction. He didn't know what to do. Had to find his own way, kind of thing. Sort out his family, school, education, and that was difficult for him. So when he set up Parker, it was because he'd been or lived through that experience as an asylum seeker, and he realised that there was a genuine need to help these people. So he's managed to, bring different organisations together to signpost asylum seekers who have come to this city and other people. But if he's on, I'm sure he can tell you more about it himself. But they've done a good job, and I was part of that multi-agency forum, and we sit down together and we used to go through what help people need and what the best way. Sorry, is he there?
Yep, he's just come in. Moez, thanks for your time and joining us on Let's Talk this evening.
Thank you to invite me.
Really, really appreciate it. So, Moez, I'm sure you were listening just then to Ishfaq singing your praises and all the amazing work that you and Parker have done in the city. Can you explain the role Parker plays in supporting asylum seekers in Peterborough?
Well, we have quite a range of the activities. Myself, been asylum from 1997 to 2004. And at the time, there was no any support when I arrived here, struggling with the cold weather. First of all, I arrived in October. I remember when I was going outside with my T-shirt. When I come back from the mall, it was very, very cold. And then we start to learn English. In 2002, we start to set up, slowly helping people, the asylum seeker, when they come from London City, because Peterborough was designated area as a dispersal area of the asylum seeker. So we start to help people on it one by one. Until now, 2 decades now, we are more than 5,000 people coming to the center for any help we are providing, dropping on any matters they have it, English classes, ladies group, social activity, social event, youth activities, men's group, So it's quite pipeline of the activities we do to support the people who are coming here. The one thing is either to reduce the isolation and the loneliness. And most of the people declare that Parker is a safe place. When they arrive here, they feel comfortable and they talk about themselves. It's quite difficult to engage with somebody when it's coming the first time, but after a few weeks, they start opening it and they start asking for the support where they want to, the area they wanted.
That's great. Honestly, that is wonderful. Now, looking ahead and to today, where we have 146 asylum seekers currently housed in the Dragonfly Hotel, from what your assessment has been, what is the most immediate need for these people?
The 146 people, asylum seekers from different nationality coming to Dragonfly Hotel, they, I think so, they need the first of all the comfort zone is to help them, to support them, to integrate them, and to make sure that they know about the city of Peterborough. Because when you are in a new city, first of all, you can't trust anyone. They are afraid to trust anyone. This is one thing. Second thing is about they don't know where the information will go. So the third thing is about we need to build a relationship with them. To make them, we are in Peterborough now. Let's help you how you want it, what you want from us. The first thing, because we receive few people in a center from different nationalities. I will not give the nationality on it, but the first thing they ask about warm clothes, shoes, gloves, because it's a cold on that one. So
basic necessities.
The first necessity they wanted. So this is my appeal on the radio also. If you have opened your wardrobe, see that you have a coat that you never use for 6 months or 12 months, please drop it here to us so we can give away. And that is the first help. Then people can feel that they are welcoming in the city. And other part also, there is also need of the registration of the NHS and the GPs, the school, college, where they can start the integration plan for them.
So, Moez, Ishi speaking here. Thank you for coming on and sharing, that with us today as well. The one thing I wanted to talk to you about, Mo, is you've had a lot of experience, and as I said, joining some of your, multi-agency forum groups, you've managed to get many, many different agencies and charities on board to work with Parker, as part of MAF and helping people from various backgrounds to get integrated or to find the basic support which the government has kind of dumped and then left you to it. So you don't get any extra funding, am I right? So say these people, if they come to you, you haven't got any extra funding or anything from the government or the public purse. This is just money that you've got to raise yourself, is that right?
Yes and no. Yes, meaning we still is early stage to get the resources from the government. As I've contacted the local authority. They said they are still waiting from the government to release some funding. So we are still waiting on that. But in the meantime, there is a need already there. So we try to cope or whatever we have it to support them, because we don't want to neglect anyone who come to the center. We said, we don't have funding. Sorry, we can't help you. That is not what we are using. I say, yes, we can help you. Whatever we can, we'll do to support you. But in the meantime, this is ABCD for you.
Now, sorry, Mo, is one thing that you might have been asked, but I know I've been asked many times over the last week or so, and it's the kind of thing that you see in the media as well. We've got these young men that have come over. I'm not saying it's their fault. They've come over here as asylum seekers. They probably didn't know they were going to be dumped or put into a hotel in Peterborough, so they probably didn't even know where they were going. So what you're doing to try and help, or other people will try and do to help, is commendable. The thing that people will have an issue with is, and I mentioned this I think earlier in the show as well, is people will feel like, we've got people within Peterborough who are in need, are elderly, we've got homeless people on the streets, and yes, there's other charities and people that are helping them and trying to support, but they may feel that, this will take away resources that can help people, nationals of this country who need that help. It'll take resources away from them. Do you feel that would happen, or that will, cause an issue?
I don't think so, really, Ishfaq, because it's a two ways different. We are talking here. We are talking about the local people who are in need also on that one. And this is the people who coming from different way to the England, and the Home Office has some budget for asylum seekers to accommodate them. So I feel that Dragonfly is the best option for the Home Office to accommodate them. 146 is a large number, and not only this, they need to feed them also. But again, it's a decision of the government to decide where they want to use their budget and what budget they have it. So we are still waiting waiting for the resources to coming in, so we can help more of those people coming to the center. And in the Peterborough is a large number of the city of sanctuary. We are moving on at the moment, so we welcome people, whatever their background is, their race, their faith. So we are here to support them.
That's great, Moise. Thank you for joining us tonight. That was Moise Natu, CEO of Parker, an organisation that plays a vital role in providing support services to asylum seekers and refugees in our city. Moise, once again, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. He's doing some really important work, isn't he? Him and his team.
Yes, he is. I've known Moise for a number of years, and I've been surprised, astonished, at how much they've been able to do to help people, like I said, from various backgrounds, and the way Moise has managed to bring so many different groups and organisations together.
Fantastic. And not just them, obviously there are other charities within the city as well, faith and non-faith charities out there who are all working together to try and support. And, just leaning back onto what Paul said earlier on in the show, Peterborough is a city of giving. We come together, we support people. But that's not really what we're looking at tonight, are we? We're looking at how... the question essentially is Peterborough ready for, do we have the infrastructure in place? And a lot of people through text and calls and so on who got in touch and simply saying, we can't keep on doing this.
I wouldn't say just Peterborough, I would say the whole country. Like you said, there's other cities that are going through the same thing. So it's not just Peterborough, it's the whole country. I don't think we are ready as a country to carry on. We need to have some major changes, and it needs fixing up.
Do you... Listen to Moise. Obviously, he's passionate and they're doing great work. I mean, in the corridors of power when they're making these decisions, and I think it's just, again, leaning back to what Paul said, it's just a numbers game, isn't it? You have that many people coming through the door, you have a massive hotel bill, and then you are just picking postcodes. I'm assuming. Am I right?
Well, I've seen something similar while I was in the council, where what they will do is the government may look to find rents are obviously cheaper in Peterborough than they are in London. The further north you go, the cheaper the rents get. It may be similar with hotels, so they will obviously then spread out people to places with less cost, or to try and reduce the cost. And it may be that, yes, we can't accommodate them, as in the infrastructure can't, but figures stack up. So normally it's probably accountants sitting somewhere saying, well, yeah, send them to Peterborough because, the numbers there work out rather than they do, say, London or south of London.
But ultimately, this is essentially a failure, isn't it, of government policy? This is a failure to protect the borders. This is a failure of a workable, understood, easy way to seek asylum outside of the UK as well. Because, when the Tories were in power, it was very difficult to seek asylum in this country. The legal avenues to the UK were very difficult already. And I think fundamentally the UK has a problem in terms of its policy. Now, fair enough, I agree with you, there should be a deterrent, for sure. But we have a problem. And every single day, hundreds, if not thousands of people are turning up to UK shores. We don't have the correct deterrents in place. We also don't have the correct policy in place to house people. And so ultimately, it's just kind of like, it's just as you were, isn't it? It's just almost the same model, isn't it?
Well, look, Labour, I'll give one thing to Labour, haven't been in power very long.
Yeah.
4 months.
So we can't really judge them on that just yet.
They've got maybe a long way to go, and I'm hoping that they do something about the immigration issue. I'm hoping. In the past, it's been the opposite when it comes to Labour compared to Conservatives, but I'm hoping they have a chance to do that and make a difference. I wouldn't hold my breath to say that they will be able to, unfortunately. I don't really have any confidence that they will be able to manage it in the way that I'd like to see it managed. deterrents need to be put in place, but I don't think they're going to do that. So
time will tell. Okay, let's shift our focus then to the UK's agricultural sector and the proposed changes to inheritance tax for farmers. Now, inheritance tax is a lifeline for many families, especially farming families, allowing land and businesses to pass down through generations without crippling financial burdens. However, recent proposals could tighten these rules, putting rural families and food security at risk. Now, Ishfaq, before we dive in, can you give an overview of these proposed changes? I know there are some very famous celebrities out there. I mean, Jeremy Clarkson's well known for saying, one of the reasons why he bought the land was because of the inheritance tax. But I mean, could you give us an overview of this proposed change?
The simplest thing I can say to you is that Labour and the Chancellor have failed to distinguish between hardworking farmers and land investors, large land-rich investors in land who buy land to avoid tax. That's the biggest issue. Now, the problem is farmers who are, the majority of farmers, live on borrowed money. They're used to, they're asset rich but cash poor.
Yeah.
So they're working. I mean, they work immensely hard. The hours that a farmer works in this country compared to the returns that they have to get, the investments they have to make over the start of a year, which is then dependent on so many variables like the weather, disease, illness of animals, if that's what they're dealing in, livestock, or even growing stuff. There's so much risk.
Yes, that's right.
And stuff that they have to buy. They can plant something for the next season, and the price is good. By the next season, the price has gone bad. It's also dependent on wars. What's happening in Ukraine has affected the wheat price, say, but it's also affected the fuel price.
Yes.
Which affects. So there's so many variables that affect a farmer's livelihood, and it's always, hand to mouth, touch and go. And yes, people look up and say they've got hundreds or thousands of acres, they must be loaded, but they use those assets as equity for loans, which they then use to run that farm or to buy seed or to plant or to keep their business going until they sell their stock and then repay those loans, and then the cycle starts again. Now, if they are then taxed on that land or inheritance tax is put onto them, we could see the end of British farming, as in family farming, because where's the incentive? You're going through all that hard work, and at the end of it, you're going to end up paying so much tax that you're having to sell off those assets. Your business is becoming more and more difficult as each year or each generation. There's a video that one of my friends shared with me earlier on YouTube, and you know what? I'd recommend people go watch it. I'm just going to find it now.
As you do that, I had a comment from Tim when I was driving to the station when I put the question out for this topic, and he said the UK has never been closer to having just commercial farming everywhere. Big companies coming in, buying up the land, and doing that. And he also gave the example of, look, if you have a £3 million farm, it's turning over £40,000 a year. How do you expect them to pay this? Interestingly, as you spoke just before, it reminded me that I actually went to a farm here in the UK some years ago, and they provide eggs to all of the UK's main supermarkets. And this particular site that I visited, it had 750,000 chickens, which lay approximately 500,000 eggs every single day. And when I drove in, so I don't know if you've ever been to a farm before, but there's quite a lot of there's a lot of risk and biological risk as well. So you have to take precautions. So I remember I drove in, I had to stop my car, had to spray my tyres with a chemical, spray my shoes with a chemical. Then I was allowed to drive forward. I had to go to another area, I had to put on protective gear. And I was going for a business meeting, Ishfaq, right? And on the way when I was driving in, vast fields everywhere, right? Massive. This area was huge. And but there was like these huge warehouses that were empty, and it was like I've gone somewhere in the Wild West, right? Until I eventually came to this mega complex, and I asked the contact there, the person I was going to see, and he said to me, they used to do organic eggs, but then there was bird flu, and they had to cull all of those birds. And it just goes back to what you said. You could have a situation where your animals have to be destroyed because you cannot eat or sell them. But this farm was actually amazing. So they process 500,000 eggs a day. And then when the chickens get to a certain size, they're then sold to supermarkets for food. The waste from the chickens actually goes into a 3 or 5 million pounds machine, which converts that into electricity, which powers the entire estate, so much so that they're selling it back to the grid. And any eggshell which is broken through their process is sent off either to create makeup, or it goes into protein shakes. And I was just astonished about how well thought out this self-sustaining farm was. And it made me think about some of the people that were interviewed actually during the farmers' protest just the other day. And, a lot of them were saying that this is going to literally affect the basket for Britain. Britain's food basket is going to be affected by this.
You said one thing there just now. You said about self-sustain.
Yeah.
The farmers self-sustaining. As a country, in the long term, in government or council, there was always talk that we need to be self-sufficient as a council or self-sufficient as a country in the long term. Now, if we get rid or do not support our farmers, if you can imagine with what's going on, as I was talking about earlier, say with the Ukraine war, how it's affected prices in this country. Mm-hmm. Energy prices being one of them, as a perfect example. That just goes to show that when it comes to food, we're on the precipice at the moment.
Yep.
Where if we're not self-sufficient when it comes to growing our own food, supporting our farmers, it's not just about money and economics here. This is about our longevity.
Yeah.
Right? So if we do not support our farmers and grow our own food, and we're dependent on importing everything in the future, we're walking a very basically risky road and on a tightrope, I'd say.
And I'd also say, I think for me anyway, that's a threat to national security.
Well, there you go. So you could tell Labour that Keir Starmer, you've been a threat to national security by not support, the Chancellor maybe, because of what you're doing to the farmers. And, that is the bigger picture. I just want to give you some figures here.
Sure.
Something that I picked up. So figures from the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs contradicted the Treasury's claims, arguing that, 3/4 of farms would have to pay this kind of tax, or inheritance tax, whereas the Treasury was saying it'd only be 10%, 20%, whatever it was. It's nearly every single farm at some point would have to pay this tax. Why would farmers, or sorry, I was just going to tell you about this interview. I want people to go and watch this just so that you get a full idea of what it is for farmers and what they're feeling. This interview was done a farm, not just in Newborough, Moor Farm. Mm-hmm. So it's on YouTube, and there is other obviously platforms on social media that you can look at for similar stuff. But it's called Life on the Farm. Could Labour kill British farming? And the farmer, the lady that's doing the interview, goes through the whole thing of what they go through, what the experiences are, how she could be the last generation, because the children now, after this Labour tax, it's like the final nail in the coffin, where although they were going to come back into the family business and run the farm, after this they feel like there's no point, no reason to do that. So I would recommend people to go watch this. And I'm not trying to be biased. Look, I'm not a farmer myself, but like you said, this is about national security, this is about longevity, and about supporting and ensuring the safety of our country in the long term. And the farmers, although you may not think that, it's a bit like the bee movie. You know how the bees, when you get rid of the bees, the pollen stops, and the flowers stop. The cartoon for kids. Farmers are our bees. They're the ones that keep the wheels turning for this country. So please do what you can to support the farmers and get behind any of their campaigns, because we need to get the Chancellor to change her mind on this.
Can you see a U-turn coming?
Not at the moment. I'm not confident that they'll make a U-turn. I think the only time that this would ever be reversed is if we ever get a Tory government again.
You'd say that.
Sorry, I just had to say that.
No. I'm just laughing because I'm saying you'd say that, but there are rumours that there could be a potential change that's coming. But then I did see through some of the research that was in that Labour is effectively saying this is only going to affect the top % of farmers. It's not going to affect the smaller farms.
Look, if they'd actually made it in a way where it did affect those people who were trying to avoid tax by buying land. Rich landowners, the whatever you want to say, the lords or the lords of the manor. So be it. You know what? Because that is a Labour policy, tax the rich, give to the poor. Fine. If that's what they want to do, and they think that's fair. But what they're doing in this is they're sweeping up. I'll tell you what, this is a perfect example. In the budget, the Chancellor mentioned how they were going to tax people who take private jets, flights. It was going to cost them extra £500 or something similar to take
per flight,
per
person.
And everyone was like, great, because all these rich people that are going on these private jets can afford that.
Yeah.
And you know what? They probably can, because £500 to them, if they can afford to go on a private jet, it's pennies.
Yes.
Right? In the ocean. But within that, they're also taxing Joe Bloggs, me and you, on a normal commercial flight. Okay, it's a lot less. It's like 2% compared to the 500 whatever. But over the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that go on these commercial flights, they will generate more money from Joe Bloggs, me and you, and people like us than they will from those few people that take the private jets. So although it looks great to them, they're taxing the rich. Well, actually, no, they're taxing more from the poor in that sense. So, and this is a similar thing. What's happened to the farmers?
Yeah, I'll take that on board. There's someone on text who's just almost completely agreed with what you just said there, Ishi. And another anonymous text. Can I just thank everybody who's texted the show? I haven't been able to get to all of the messages tonight. There's been a lot of people who've agreed with Paul and people who've agreed with you as well, Ishi. And others who've actually really appreciated Moise as well. So, look, that's all we have time for tonight. A huge thank you to Paul Bristow and Moise Natu for joining us, and to all our listeners for tuning in. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Join us on social media and keep the debate going.